What happens when they don't get it? 6 things to avoid. Number 1, try to avoid making them feel like a failure. This is very easy to do by mistake. If you just let something, you look around the room and you let something slip out like, oh God, what did I say? Or, oh, that looks like a train wreck. Or, so, it's easy for something to slip out and you don't mean it to be their fault. You mean it that you're saying it was your fault, but they can take it the wrong way and feel like they're horrible failures. So a lot of the time I don't even comment if I feel like things are going poorly. I just try to divert attention in some other way, get them doing some other exercise instead of pointing out the fact that everyone is failing. That being said, sometimes it is so clear that everyone's confused that it's the best thing to do is just make a joke of it and sort of point to yourself and be like, wow, clearly I didn't say that super well, so I'm going to start again. Or something, again, just pointing out that you understand what's going on and you're going to be more clear and they're in good hands. So that it's a fine line. Number 2, try to avoid making the people who aren't getting it call attention to themselves. So if I were to say, if I'm trying to divide up the people who get it and the people who don't get it, I would not say, okay, who doesn't get it? Okay, what are your questions? I would try to get everyone doing something, and I say, okay, for the people who are already bored, or they already get it, or they want something new, they want something more exciting, come over here. So I'm making the people that do get it do a positive action. The people who don't get it should never have to raise their hand. They should never have to step to the side. Always the people who are getting it should be doing the positive action. So, just a little thing. Number 3, try to avoid setting unrealistic goals in their head. And usually this is a subconscious thing. If I imply that they have to have fabulous pointed fingers and toes or else they aren't any good as dancers, if I just imply that by the way that I demonstrate, or the way that I talk about technique, or the way that I talk about like, oh, this is the way to do it, then they feel like any other way isn't good enough. So just those little things. If you set unrealistic goals in their head, then they feel like if they aren't doing it perfectly, they're a failure. So try to use more words like, this is the way that I choose to do it, instead of this is the way to do it. Or other things like that where you sort of explain that there's multiple different ways, different styles, different techniques, then they'll feel better about wherever they are and whoever they are. Try to avoid, and this sounds backwards, going too slowly. I notice that sometimes when people have a disaster on their hands, they respond by going really, really slow. Slowing down is good. Slowing your explanation down is good. Making sure you include information is good. But if you go too slowly and you make them stand around for a long time in one position while you're explaining something, and then they take the next step and you have them stand there for a long time while you explain something, you're explaining, then their body forgets what they were doing. The body doesn't put the pieces together. Oh, I did left foot and then right foot. You stand on your right foot for too long and your body forgets what it was doing, and all that information is for naught because it won't get connected. So instead of going too slowly, try to keep some sort of natural rhythm. So I could say natural rhythm like about how fast you normally would walk or run. Those are natural body rhythms. You wouldn't ever walk so slowly that you forget, by the time you get to your right foot, you've completely forgotten what foot you came from. It just tends to make people more confused. And related to that one, generally when people are going too slow, they're actually giving too much information. Sometimes that'll make people more confused. They're trying to make it more clear, but by giving so many details, they actually make people more confused by giving them more to worry about. Number 5, figure out what you're doing when they're not watching. So if you realize that you made a mistake, you don't quite know what your step is, you don't know what the next step is, get them busy doing something, repeating a basic step, or running through, or practicing with a partner, or if you don't have anything for them to do, get them to take a water break, or get them to introduce themselves to the neighbor, whatever. Get them doing something, and then go figure out your next step. Or if you realize you taught it wrong, go figure it out, and then come back to them. think it's the worst thing ever is for the teacher to be up in front of the room and be like, oh wait, I think I did that wrong. Okay, wait. No, wait, this way. And meanwhile, they're all standing there. First off, they're bored, they're getting cold. But beyond that, I think it lowers their faith in the teacher to be watching the teacher not knowing what they're doing. I mean, clearly we all have moments where we don't know what we're doing, but I think it disrupts the class dynamic. So try not to do that in front of your students. Last but not least, if you're going to start again, if you realize they really don't get it, and you need to start again, make a choice to really start over. So if you manage to get them confused, you need to start completely from fresh, as if they had never seen the step ever before, and teach it a different way than you taught it last time. If instead you start again and you teach it the same way, or even worse, you kind of start halfway through and teach it again, I feel like a lot of the same problems just keep getting created. If they made a mistake before, they'll make the same mistake again. And you'll just be wasting their time, because you're going over the same thing, and the people who got it will just be getting bored, and the people who didn't get it won't be getting fixed. So if you're going to start again, make sure you start all the way back again and pick a different way to explain it. Maybe like repeat a certain element over and over and over again, and then switch and do a different element over and over and over again, and then put them back together instead of teaching them all at once, or different than however you did. So there you go, 6 things to avoid.